Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. Let's get started. So, for this weekend in college football, we got a lot of conference championship games. This is a very good time of year because then you get typically the best two teams in each conference going at it. Um, and I was going through my predictions. I was like, man, most of these won't be. Most of these should be one possession games. It's pretty good because you do know sometimes there are mismatches. Because sometimes if it's division based and one division's clear better than the other type of thing. But it's like I expect a lot of close games here. Um, let's start with the first one. It's Conference USA. It's the Western Kentucky versus UTSA. West Kentucky is 8-4, and then and UTSA is 11-1. Now, what's interesting here is that UTSA was in the top 25 ranked, and then they just got obliterated, upset loss on the road to North Texas. So it'll be interesting to see how UTSA bounces there because since Cincinnati should win the American, and if not, and then San Diego State wins the Mountain West, then they would be the G5 representing Year 6 bowl anyway. It's not like UTSA had like a big bowl shot by any means. There's not really a difference between the different levels of Conference USA, tie in for bowl games, but it'll be interesting how UTA is motivated here. Since it's their first time being in a conference championship game for the Conference USA, I feel like they should be motivated enough, and they got a good coach and all that. And typically, when good teams get embarrassed, they'll bounce back the next week. That's kind of my philosophy there. So, I have this was a close. These two teams already played before the regular season. It was a one possession game then at Western Kentucky, which UCSA got the upset. So I thought this would be a one possession game once again. I'm going to have Western Kentucky win this one at home because I think Conference USA championship games are played at the team with the better record. But I do think UTSA will barely win out. They'll win it by just 1 point, 35-34. Next, you get the Pac-12 championship game. Friday night, you got 10 Oregon versus 17 Utah. Now Utah obviously obliterated Oregon, like 38-3 or something, back or 38-7, whatever, back a couple weeks ago. But again, I don't feel like Oregon would get that. When two teams face each other multiple times, it's kind of hard to win both of those by blow. Well, first of all, it's hard to win both of them, but especially it's hard to win both of them by blowouts. So I don't think this will be a blowout by any means this time around. It'll be a one possession game. Now the question is, does Oregon win again and win I don't know, their fourth conference championship in a row, maybe more, or does Utah finally give it up because they've been here a couple times, but they've never been able to get over a hump? But this is their best year to do so. So can they finally get over the hump's question? And I feel like they will. Um, um, I feel like Utah has definitely the capability to, but after giving some thought, I just can't go against Oregon. So I'm gonna take Oregon here for the win, barely 23-20. And then you got on the Saturday, you got the Big 12 championship games. We got 9 Baylor versus 5 Oklahoma State. Very important game for Oklahoma State in their playoff hopes. And then obviously if Baylor in year 2, if they have a ran that can win a conference championship, that's super impressive for them. But I feel like we saw this game matchup earlier, and Oklahoma State won 21-7. It was, yeah, it wasn't even close. Baylor's offense struggled mightily. This time, Bohannon, he has an ankle injury or thigh injury or whatever, so we're not 100% sure if he is going to start or not. Because if he doesn't, then I feel like it's over. But even if he does, if he's not 100%, then Oklahoma State's defense, which is the best in the Big 12, can easily take advantage of that. So I have Oklahoma State winning this game. It'll be close. And then the fourth quarter, I feel like Oklahoma State will start to pull away. Either that or Oklahoma State be up by a lot and they'll be able to come back either or. But I do feel like it won't be enough, and Oklahoma State wins 27-14. Next, you get the MAC championship game, which, in my opinion, is the least entertaining conference championship game, at least record-wise, because you got Kent State, who's 7-5, and Northern Illinois, who's 8-4. Not exciting. But I do feel like this should be an offensive game, which is, I'd love to see offense. This was a coin flip game for me. I had no idea who I should go with here. Because Northern Illinois, I feel like, has a more impressive wins, has beaten Central Michigan in their own conference, which is pretty good, and then has beaten Georgia Tech. I know Georgia Tech's bad, but at least they're a Power 5 opponent now, and so I feel like they need to get some impressive wins there. I feel like they are going to win this game, but it's going to be close though. This is like conference championship Conference USA Championship game, just like by 1 point. Northern Illinois wins 28-27. Then you get the Mountain West Championship game in the afternoon on Fox. You got Utah State 9-3 versus 19 San Diego State 11-1. San Diego State's favored by 6 here. I would say San Diego State will win here and cover. Now Utah State can easily put up a fight. They're more than the capable team getting the upset here, but because San Diego State is so good on the defensive end, like they shut down Boise State, and Utah State got shut down by Boise State. So it's just like, so the connection's there. I just feel like Utah State, even if they can do something offensively, I feel like their defense won't be able to stop San Diego State's run attack because they're okay defense, but they do give up the run. So I have San Diego State win this one. Close to, I've been winning 27-17. Next, we got the Sun Belt Championship game. We got Appalachian State 10-2 versus 24 Louisiana 11-1. Now, what's interesting here is Appalachian State's actually the favorite here by 3 points. But it really doesn't make any sense because both of these teams played in regular season, and even though it was at Louisiana, which this game will be at Louisiana, it was a blowout last time they played. So again, like I said for the Utah game, I don't expect a blowout again. But it all depends on how Louisiana is ready to play because Billy Napier, their head coach, has just taken the Florida job. So it's like, okay, how motivated are they going to be? I mean, since they got into the top 25, they should be very motivated because they want to get that ranking and finish in the top 25. Because that'd be impressive if they did that. Because they were in the top 25 last year as well. So to finish consecutive years back to back in the top 25 of that program would be pretty good. Especially since with Napier now, we're not sure how they're going to be. I have this being a game where Appalachian State will control most of the time, but then Louisiana would just make a few lucky plays there and feel off the home crowd here and there and get the win out of the money 23-17. Next, you get the big SEC championship game, in Georgia 3 Alabama. Georgia's favored by 6.5. I feel like that line's like spot on there because I feel like that's the margin of which Georgia will win this game. I do feel like this won't be a box Alabama. Their defense, I feel like, can contain Stetson Bennett, if he's a starter, or even JT Daniels to a degree, because they were able to contain him, last time they played each other. But I feel like Georgia's defense will have a feast on Alabama's, suspect O-line, which has been the case, for Alabama this season. So I feel like Alabama, again, will make this one possession game. I feel like Georgia will win. And this will be like a lower scoring game here. Don't expect a lot of points here. This will be one of the most lower scoring games of all the conference championship games, actually. I have them winning 20-13. Next, you get the American Conference Championship game here with 4 Cincinnati versus 21 Houston. Again, a lot of people feel like Cincinnati's favored by 10.5 here. A lot of people feel like this should be a blowout, but I feel like this will be a closer game than what the experts think here. Because Houston's, they lost once Texas Tech, is a eligible team, and then they won 11 straight. So I know they haven't beaten a lot of any good teams, but it's like but I feel like they're a pretty solid team, and I feel like they're a very good offensive team, and then defensively, like when they need to, they can show up. So I feel like, even though it's at Cincinnati, I feel like Houston can definitely make it interesting, but in the end, I feel like Cincinnati will obviously pull it out when I have the winning by 1 possession, 8 points, and 34-26. Next, you get the Big Ten championship game. You got 2 Michigan versus 13 Iowa. Now, this is the one championship game where I can see a blowout, actually. I can also see the game being close, because Iowa's defense can make it close. But in the end, I feel like Michigan State will win here pretty easily and control the game. I have them winning 28-10 because I feel like, Iowa could do some good things defensively. I just feel like Iowa's offense won't be able to do jack squat against Michigan's defense. If they can't do jack squat against Purdue's defense, then it's over. Last but not least, they get the ACC changing game with 16 Wake Forest versus 15 Pittsburgh. Again, this one's a good game. This one can go either way, in my opinion. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Pittsburgh here, mainly because while both quarterbacks are good, I like Penny Pickett a little bit more. And then obviously defense, both defenses aren't great. I do like Pittsburgh's defense way better than Wake Forest's defense. So while Wake Forest will have a little more home field advantage, in my opinion, because it's in Charlotte, and sort of Wake Forest proximity is closer, I feel like Pittsburgh will get a win. Again, 1 possession game here, but I do feel like Pittsburgh will win in a shootout. I have them winning 35-27. So now what's interesting here, after going over my predictions, is that if, all the favorites win out, then I feel like the top 4, would be 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, and I feel like it'd be 3 Cincinnati and then 4 Oklahoma State. Because I don't see any other scenario that happens. And that's, the most easy scenario. There's not a lot of drama there, that's how it plays out. Now, let's say um, Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Cincinnati wins. Oh, but then Oklahoma State loses. Well, then who's that 14? Well, the most logical answer would be actually Notre Dame because they're the only other team. They're just sitting there with one loss. Um, and you're not going to have a two-loss. And if you even have two-loss Alabama, that means they would have to be the 4th seed, which means that's a rematch of the SEC championship game, which obviously the committee doesn't care about rematches. They did it, with Clemson and Notre Dame last year. The conference championship game. But it's just like I'm not. It's just like I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Notre Dame would get in. But I mean, like I said, most logical sense to Notre Dame get in under that scenario. Although I feel like Alabama or Ohio State, especially, would be better than Notre Dame. But oh well. Now if if Bama wins and then Michigan wins, Cincinnati wins, Oklahoma State wins, now that is the most interesting scenario out of everything. Like that's the most one where it's like, okay, how's this going to play out? Well, you got to have Alabama there. They beat Georgia. You got to have Georgia in there because you're not gonna, even though they're not conference champion, they're clearly a top 4 team. You're gonna have Michigan in there if they win. So then it comes down to Cincinnati, undefeated conference champion, or Oklahoma State with one lost conference champion in the Big 12. So that would be an interesting debate. I do feel like in the end, even though both teams are playing ranked opponents in a conference championship game, but Oklahoma State's more prestige with them playing a top 10 opponent in Baylor. But either way, I feel like since Oklahoma State has been behind Cincinnati this whole time, I feel like if that was the case, I feel like Cincinnati would stay at number 4. So Oklahoma State would unfortunately be left out under that scenario, but I could be wrong there. But that's just what I think there. And then let's see. And then if let's say Bama wins, let's say all favorites. Let's say Bama wins, Iowa upsets Michigan, Houston upsets Cincinnati, Baylor upsets Oklahoma State. It's like, okay, now what? Well, then you still got Bama, Georgia. We know that. But then and then you'll probably do Notre Dame. So then it's like, okay, now who's the best 2-loss team out there, basically? It's like, and at that point, it would be Michigan, because they have the tiebreaker of a 2-loss Ohio State, and even a 2. But even I would say they're better than a 2-loss Oregon if they were to win the Pac-12. So I feel like it would still be Michigan there, but again, that'd be a very interesting scenario to see what happens there. So again, those are all different scenarios that could play out. Again, according to my predictions, I feel like if the games go according to how I think it's going to go, then it's cut and dry now. Alabama, if they lose, Georgia will fall out. And Oklahoma State, if they win, take care of business, we'll just jump right in, and then that's your top 4. It'll be exciting to see, and we'll see how this all shakes out over the weekend. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel if you want about me. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.